Hi everybody, and welcome to my review of the Triumph Street Triple RS. I've had this bike on loan for 5 days from Destination Triumph, the Solent store near East Meon. The RS is the track-orientated top-of-the-range model out the Street Triple range. You then have the R, which is more like your normal. There's also an R with a lowered seat height, and then there's the S, which has actually got a smaller engine and is compliant for A2. The RS has about 121 brake horsepower. The R just has a handful less. And then, as I say, because of the A2 restrictions, you're going down to 48 brake horsepower for the S itself. The S is just under £8,000. The RS is 10,300. So there's not a huge gap between those two, and you get a lot of kit in this bike. Obviously, the Triumph Street Triple used to be a 675. This is a 765, so it's got a little bit more power. As I say, I have ridden one of the old ones before, and yeah, this definitely feels like it's got a bit more grunt. But first things first, let's actually take a look at the bike, because it's really nice. I have to say, the build quality of this bike is absolutely lovely. It's as good as any I've seen. Everything is finished nicely. Everything is just clean. Every single thing is being, not even these that are trimmed down. It's different from just being bog standard. You know, the bottom ones are more bog standard. It's just there's a lot of attention to detail in lots of different places. Even down to like the fasteners that they use just look really nice. Of course, you've got adjustable suspension front and rear because you want to get it tuned for the track. Big Brembo brakes. These are very powerful, nice brakes. Again, Brembo's on the rear, and this is the Euro 5 exhaust, because this is one of the big problems. You know, we want bikes to be faster and louder and do all these things, but what's driving bikes at the moment is keeping them in line with the regulations that allow them to exist, like Euro 5. Personally, I really like the look of it. I probably prefer the front end of the older Street Triple, the smaller lights, you know, the two held underneath with the little screen above. I probably prefer the look of that to this, but the rest of the bike beyond that, I prefer the new bike. So the screen on this is very nice, and it is massively customizable. You basically have a menu button here, you have a joystick here, which is left, down, up, right, and press, and then you have a home button here. Okay, well, I'm going to push the joystick up, and as you can see, it changes information displayed on the screen. So you can have your tachometer there. You also have the tach that comes out the side here. In like a glowing colour aura. It's really very cool. You can switch through all your bits of information there, and then we come across styles. Now I'm going to show you all the different styles. We go across, click. So with this you can have the RPMs as a really big display with a speed underneath. Then you've got timers, and then we're going to styles again. We'll go across one more. Quite similar. I'm just going to change the colour so you can see what happens. You change colour, and now your information and your dials will show in that colour. There is another option, which is style 4, which is completely different, which has got side by side like this. And so this is all controlled with this little stick. It's very intuitive, I've found. So that's the general sort of display settings and how to customize it. Okay, then we've got the modes button. So if we press that, so we've got sport, track, rider, which I think is a custom one, rain, road, back to sport. I've had it on sport. So then I'm going to press menu to get into there. We've got riding modes, and then in here you can adjust what you want. So you can have road or track, ABS. You can play with the map. You can change traction control. I'm not going to do that. I like to use this in sport mode. Then you've got bike setup, and this is where you can change the automatic indicators as to how they work. Traction control options, this is where you can enable it or disable it. I'd say this bike benefits from having it. And then you've got information about your service. Then you can change the information on the trips. Then we'll have a look in display setup, and you see this is where you can make a lot more customizations about, you know, sort of where the gear shift indicator comes in and stuff. Just have a play, you'll find it the way you like it the most. On the display we've obviously got gear position indicator, speed, say the revs come out the side here, and then whatever information you want to have around it. You've got your normal lights left and right, fuel gauges here, temperatures over there. I'll just start the bike up. I might have to cut the audio, but you'll see the flashing. So it's a nice clear display, lots of information there if you want it. You can change the layout, change the colours, very customisable. It's very nice. Trick bit of kit. Okay, well, first things first, as my regular viewers know, I am 6'4", so I'm a bit of a big chap. And I fit on this just. It doesn't feel like a huge bike, it doesn't feel absolutely tiny either. I believe this is slightly bigger than the old 675 that I rode. And I think I can notice that, but it's been a long time. If I was to sum this bike up, it looks like a naked and it feels like a sports bike, and the riding position comes into that too. The pegs feel very high up for what a naked normally has. The bars aren't quite as low down as you would expect for a sports bike, but not quite as high as you'd necessarily think for a naked, so you're kind of in between. It's like a very sporty naked. It feels more like a sports bike than a naked. In my opinion, in my experience, nakeds tend to have lighter front end steering as they've adjusted the rake slightly. This has got a very positive dead ahead feel, so as I say, it feels a lot more like a sports bike to ride than a naked. Now, as I say, because this is track orientated, it does have very firm suspension, and the R is apparently a little bit softer and more you know, forgiving on the road, because the bumps are pretty firm. When you're on a nice road, this feels great, it really does, but when you're on a bumpy normal road, it's not so comfortable at times. You know, the jars can be a little bit, well, jarring. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about the engine. As I say, it is a 765 rather than a 675, 121 brake horsepower. It produces its peak torque at around 11,000 RPM, 11,100 I think it is RPM. Which means it does need to wind open a little bit to get really into its stride, and you do feel that, but it's certainly not lacking low down for, you know, normal riding. The throttle response is lovely and smooth down low. It's very usable in town and city. I haven't had any problems with it there. It's, you know, some bikes, sports bikes particularly, can be great out on the road going fast, but when you try and get them through traffic and stuff, it just becomes a little bit clunky and a little bit jerky. And this is not that. This is very, very comfy. You have a quick shifter and a auto blipper, so you can go up and down the gears without using the clutch, and I found this to be very smooth and nice to use. I will demonstrate. So we'll go up a gear here, you probably didn't even notice. Down a gear, down a gear, down a gear. See how smooth it is? No jerking, other than when I get back on the throttle. Back up. It is great. Obviously, when I get a little bit more open throttle later on, you'll see that being used more positively. The brakes on this are immensely powerful, but actually very nice to use, as in, you know, in lower speed stuff, you don't feel like you're being jabbed off the bike. You can progressively bring them in. As far as speed and power of this bike goes, it's got more than you ever really need on the road, being realistic. So yeah, it's got that covered. I see this bike's place in the market as a bit of a do-everything. I think maybe not so much the commuter everyday rider, because you might go for the R, you know, it's a little softer. But you know, some people don't mind the firmer ride. You get some pretty respectable miles to the gallon figures for that amount of power, but that of course is the way that bikes are being driven now. Euro 5 is pushing bikes to be more and more environmentally friendly, more economical, more miles to the gallon, and that brings problems when it comes to, you know, giving performance and stuff like that. It's actually why this bike is obviously quite quiet low down, because of this exhaust, but it does get a little louder as you get going. A lot of that seems to be engine sound though, and it is quite a unique and very nice sound. Effortlessly up to 70. Now, as I mentioned in my town and city video, this does actually have automatic cancelling indicators, and I will say they do work, but they're a little slow to react. I would use them as a backup only, you know, use them, I mean, I can hardly stop myself doing it anyway, but I would just use the indicators as normal and just rely on that system as something to cover you if you ever forget to press the cancel indicator button. See here, more ferocity on the downshift, still smooth. Because it's got this sort of power delivery, it feels like, as I say, a leery little get around town bike. It's little, yes, I say little because it's agile, it's got plenty of grunt, and you can just get yourself through and around stuff, pulling out of roads nice and strongly. Of course, I should mention the clutch. It is a very nice clutch. It's very smooth, it's very light. It's got a nice weight to it. It's not too heavy, not too light, so it feels controllable. But you know, it's kind of wasted in a way because you've got the quick shifter auto clip, so you're hardly ever using it apart from pulling away and stopping. Maybe a little bit of feathering every now and then at lower speeds, but otherwise, yeah, you're not using it. I really do like the EFI on this. It just seems happy to sit comfortably at any speed and be perfectly smooth and always have the power available you need to instantly get away. It doesn't seem to have a poor point in the range. Obviously you get very, very little wind protection on this bike. It is a naked after all. Yes, there is some respite from my sort of hips, but my arms, my head, my chest, I can feel all the wind there, but that's to say, it's a naked. If you complain about that on a naked, well, you're just riding the wrong bike, frankly. We're coming back down through the box. Nice and smooth. Don't need anything lower than second. Weight transfer is lovely. And speed is plentiful. As I say, the handling of this feels very much like a sports bike. It is really nice. It is precise and it is direct. And I have to say, this is one of the nicest handling bikes I have ever ridden. And I'm not saying that for any other reason than I think it. I'm trying to think of bikes that I've ridden that are sort of competitors to this, and the one that sort of comes to mind at the moment as being similar but different is the GSXS 750. I did very much enjoy riding that bike, and I did like the handling on it. I do prefer the way that this bike feels, but there is a price difference there, you know, it's a couple of £1,000s. And I actually would say that I think that the Suzuki is perfectly acceptable for the price that it is. And I also think that the extra money that Triumph are charging for this over that is you can see it, you can feel it and you can see it. You can see it in the build, you can feel it in the bike. I think they are both priced fairly and at the right place they should be for what they are. It's obviously not the cheapest of bikes in the grand scheme of things, but the build quality is definitely there. It looks as good as anything I've seen from BMW pretty much. I just wish that I'd had this on some more warm sunny days, or I could actually get these super courses properly warmed up and had a bit more fun with it. Only mainly because I don't like pushing it. I like to be well within my safety margins, as it were, because if anything goes wrong, I'm paying for the bike. Once things have calmed down a little bit in the future, I would like to try and get out on the R, or actually even the S. That would be interesting because that's obviously an A2 market competitor. I'd like to try that. There are lots of other bikes I want to try. A lot of people have been saying like, oh, now you're doing some videos with Destination Triumph, you can be doing this bike. I'm going to do every bike I can. Obviously at the moment with the current, you know, medical issues going on nationally, not me, it's going to delay things a little bit, but we'll work around it. Right, my time on this bike is soon to be at an end. I'm approaching Destination Triumph now. I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anything. I hope I haven't. Overall, this is an absolutely fantastic machine. Very high quality feeling, very powerful, very just focused, and it's, you know, it's refined. Well, our time Street Triple RS is at an end. It has been an absolute pleasure. I will quite miss this bike. I've very much enjoyed riding it. It's it's just very pleasant to use. I think that's what I'd say. It's just a nice bike to have, to use, to ride. Bringing it in, bringing it in, bringing it in. Boop. So this is the Solent store. This is the people that I'm going to be doing bike reviews with. The next bike, yes, of course, the Tiger 900 is an option. The Rocket 3 is another option. I can't decide which one I want to ride more. It would probably make sense to go for a Tiger because obviously I've just recently done some other ones that are similar. But there's lots to choose from. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and the past couple of videos I made on this bike, please remember to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new here. I'm on my way to 100k. I'd really appreciate it. And if you would like to help me continue to make these videos possible, then join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. As little as $1 a month, you literally can go there, you get everything for $1, or you can put it up to more. I have some people that, you know, are far more generous than $1. And it really is the way that I'm able to do this year. If you're not aware, I've basically given up my metalworks business and I'm now doing this full time. So obviously launching that just as a pandemic starts, it's only a problem that I could create. Anyway, catch you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to see future videos. This channel is made possible by the support of the audience. Please consider joining my Patreon to get early access to videos, questions answered in the monthly Q&A, your name on screen, and some exclusive content, all for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the links in the description to my merch and other ways to directly support the channel. Thanks for watching.